Yeah, it doesn't do any good to recruit all those people if they don't stick around. I think retention is just as important. So, and one of the things I tell chapters all the time is make sure you realize, try to get to know them. Why did they join your chapter? Was it because they like to give Amtraks? Well, if you don't invite them to the Amtrak giveaways or builds, they're not going to stick around. Did they get there for the social, the fun, the interaction, to meet people? So you got to know what they want, what they joined you for, and plug them in there and make sure. Don't put them on the fun committee if they're not social and they just want to be in the background. But I don't know, maybe that's where they should be. But so we have a PowerPoint. Am I still starting this? We're going to do it for Glenna.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. I don't mind doing it.
Why don't
I
you
got it.
do it? Because
Sure, I've got everything pulled up.
okay. We had it on mine because she was afraid the storms would make it.
Yeah.
We were playing tag today. I was like, if I don't get home, Jessica's running it.
Oh, I was working on internet right up until I was like, please connect. I don't want a hotspot the whole time. Okay. Oh, well, I just jumped right in there by accident. Everyone able to see that okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
So, Glenna, branding time is like Jessica said, it's a recruitment time nationally. We do two, a spring roundup and fall branding time. And it starts October 1st and runs through the whole month and into November to November 30th. And we encourage all the chapters, almost every chapter that participates sets a goal of at least 5 new members. And when they do that, they become top spread chapter. And top spread chapter gives them extra points for, and the points, since you're new, probably don't know this, we collect points by our activities in the hub. And at the end of the year, the chapters get recognition, achievement recognition, superior chapter merit or honor based on how many points they get. So recruitment time, you can get a lot of points. So it's a great time to pick up activities. A lot of chapters get really active. They've gotten through the summer months, the weather's gotten cool, so they start having Amtrak giveaways, different programs. So it's a great time to invite guests to your meetings and activities, let them see what you're doing. So one of the great things to do is hold a membership contest, which you get points for that. And so I think I already talked about the points in the hub. So,
Well, and we do branding time because it's fun, right? So it adds an element of competition and it just makes it an enjoyable experience for some of these new members too.
yeah. I see we have somebody new popped in, Kimberly. Hi,
Yeah.
Kimberly.
Hi. Can you
What
hear me?
chapter are you? Yeah, what chapter are you with?
With Birmingham and Bucks.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Good.
We haven't missed much. We just started talking about branding time.
Okay.
So do
Ready
we
to
want to
go?
move on? Yeah, go on. Click.
There it goes.
There you go. So during branding time, every time your member recruits a new member during the branding time, you'll always get a star when you recruit. If you're a big hatter, if you're not a big hatter, you'll get your stars when you get a big hat. Whether you're a big hatter or not, during branding time for every member, the first 2 members you get a spur. For your 3rd member, you get a branding iron. And so if you get a 4th member, you go back to a spur, 5th. So for every 3rd one, you get a branding iron. Your chapter gets points for all those members, but for every branding iron that is given in your chapter, you get 20 extra points. Most important thing is we want you to recruit. The points and the awards and recognitions are just extra fun, and sometimes it encourages people, but we want to recognize them for what they do. So, and those pins will come usually a few months after branding time comes. They'll come to your chapter president. Next,
Donna,
unless you want to say something.
do you want to talk about what people typically do with their pens? Where
Yeah,
they
well,
display them?
Yeah, usually I don't know what people do when they don't have a hat. They probably put them on a bulletin board or in a jewelry drawer or something. But once you get your 3 members, which you recruit 3 members within a 12-month span, and that doesn't mean January to December. It's whenever you recruit your first member from 12 months from then you earn your big hat and you join the big hat club. You have to fill out a form online and then you will have a hat sent to you. And if you go to conferences, you'll see all these crazy people with all these pins just like this. There's stars and also conference pins, and they'll have them all over there. And I've heard of people that have bulletin boards that they just put them on, or they make felt like mini banners and put them on. The hard part's when not to lose them before you earn your big hat, before your big hat comes in the mail. I don't know. Have you heard of any other way that they collect them?
Nope. What I was getting at was the big hat.
Yeah, thanks for spurring me on. Okay.
All right. I don't know why there's such a delay in slide transition.
There
All
we
right.
go. So some of the things when you're planning your chapter contests, of course, make them simple. Here's some things to remember. Keep them simple. If you make it too confusing, they're just going to give up. They're not even going to participate. They're going to go, what am I supposed to be doing? So make sure that they understand how to play whatever game or contest you have. Make it fun. Encourage your chapter members to participate, show guests what they're bringing. And it's also a fun way to help your community know what's going on too if you put it out there on Facebook. Everybody loves to win and getting free stuff, so pick items, keep the participants interested, and it can be just silly stuff or a grab bag. We're going to look at some suggest or some examples of some contests. So we'll look at what they did, and then of course make sure you recognize your chapter success. I would, make sure you introduce everybody when you have guests at your meetings so the guests know who they are, and introduce your guests. Thank them for coming. Make sure that they feel wanted so they'll want to come back. And if you have somebody, we actually had somebody come to one of our, it was a orientation, but we used it for recruitment too last year, and we put all over Facebook, and we had somebody come all by themselves without a friend there. They didn't know anybody. And so I made sure that I went over and talked to her a lot. And then I sat her next to somebody that was very outgoing, so she felt welcome. Because there's, how it is. It's pretty intimidating when you walk into a room full of crazy ambucks and you don't know anybody. So, okay. Any questions so far while we wait for the slides to
I was
go
just
on?
curious if any chapters are doing something mentorship related, bringing people in under a mentor. I think that's a really neat idea.
It is. And years ago, we did actually, Wendy started it with Big Hat, with our Big Hat chapter. And she did I don't remember what she called it, but Big Sister, Little Sister. And she took especially AMBUC members that have been in for a long time, like Brooke and myself and a bunch of others, and gave us newer members underneath of them. And it was our responsibility to talk to them, make sure that they remind them about meetings, just check in on them. So we have done that, and it was pretty successful. Anybody else done anything like that?
Did something real similar, like you said, that way, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah. I think coming in as a new person is pretty intimidating.
It's kind of scary, and there's so many. We have our own language, which there is a handout out there someplace that kind of describes all this stuff, because we talk about the ARC a lot. We're really bad about, which is the AMBUC Resource Center, and we talk about branding and big hats and branding irons. And if you don't know what all that stuff is, it can be pretty overwhelming, I think. So these are just, there is a handout, and I think Jessica's going to share a link for it. It's in the resources on the hub now, right? And they've been around for a long time. There's like 4 or 5 pages. I just copied some to put here just to give you some idea of some things that you could do. So I've seen chapter poker been done quite a bit, where the member receives a flyer in the mail with the playing card. Sometimes they don't get the card till they come to the meeting. And then they earn more cards by attending meetings, bringing guests, recruiting new members. And then at the end of the contest, the best hand wins. So obviously they have some kind of prize, whether it's money. A lot of them will give like free membership dues for a quarter or a year, or those that have meals will pay for their lunch for so many times. It's kind of open. You can do all kinds of things. The 100, 200%, actually the Ponca City Noon Ambucks is trying to work on 100% day. They're trying to get 100% of their attendance of their members to attend the meeting. I think it's next week. That's kind of a great way to kick off your membership campaign. It's really not recruiting. I guess the 200% would be everybody bring a member. I think that's a great goal. I think it would be a very hard goal to attend, to get everybody to be there and to bring a guest, but great idea. And then the yard penalty. I've heard of this one. Sometimes it doesn't go over too well. You have to be careful what you put in people's yards. Some people we've seen around here, I think it's Child Development Center, and they flock people. They put flamingos in their yards and they have to make a donation to get them out. This is kind of the same thing. If you don't bring a guest or a new member, they put yard signs or outhouses or things like that in the yard. And again, the men one year put an outhouse in front of a dentist office. He was not very happy. So you got to kind of think about what you're doing with that one. But I can see, like the flocks, bring a member and we'll get it out of there. So I don't think we need to read through all of these. Poker, pot of gold, they're all like,
Just
they're all
little
just
cutesy
different.
ideas.
Cutesy
Mhm.
ideas. So they're going to be on the handout so you can read these at home. Team contest, we've done team contests a lot in our chapter, where we assign a captain and different teams, and they have to earn points and have different parties or something afterwards. So that's always kind of fun because then it's not just every member, but so there you go. Click on there. They can't click on there, but it's under the resources. If you go to the hub, and I think there's like 5 pages of contest ideas.
It is. And then for this particular example, I added some of the other flyers that you had, and some different things that the Charity Angels had done as far as recruitment campaigns and promotional letters.
You put
Just
those in
to-
the hub, you mean?
No, these aren't in
here,
the hub.
okay.
I put them on this link. Yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody want to share recruitment ideas or branding contests that you might?
Hey, Jessica, I know Mountain Metro right now has a real cute one where every meeting they're giving away little items, for if you show up with a guest, you show up with your pin on, and then they have a contest going on. So it just keeps the momentum each meeting even real positive, and I think that's exciting too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think it kind of depends on the personality of your group. I think, different Mountain Metro gals, I mean, they are just glitter and pizzazz and everything awesome. And so that very much fits their personality. And they're also very supportive of one another, and they like to gift to each other. So that sounds like the perfect idea for Mountain Metro. So I think sometimes these ideas can certainly be used, and they're clever and creative and pretty low cost at times. But it might just all come down to your chapter, and is there a way to create some visibility there? I mean, with the Ponca City Charity Angels, could you put angel wings in people's yards as a way to create some visibility?
True.
Yeah.
We actually had chapter signs, like yard signs made up like the realtors a long time ago that
Mhm.
says Charity Angel lives here. And we need to get some new ones made, but most of us still have them. And we put those up during visibility months, but you could do them during your recruitment time too. I mean, yeah, I don't leave mine up all the time because people won't know. You put it up all the time, they just start ignoring it. But I put it up from time to time. So, and like Jessica said, my chapter's had several contests where they've done points for different things. And it wasn't just recruitment, it was like you got a point if you came to an Amtrak build, you've got a point for coming to a meeting, you got 2 points for a guest. So that encouraged them to bring guests. And then at the end, whoever had the most points got the free quarters. I think it was a half year membership dues or their lunch paid or different things like that. So people that, because there's some members that just feel intimidated about recruiting. We have one member, she was like, I'm not recruiting anybody. And at least they can participate that way in the group and feel like they're part of it. But
I like
it's,
that.
yeah,
Because,
And I was gonna
Glenna
say,
mentioned
there's-
earlier that she's a little shy, and I think that helps everyone at least feel like they can participate in the way where they feel comfortable.
yeah,
Well, I think too, sometimes with like whether it's, fall branding or whether it's the word recruitment, that sometimes that seems intimidating and people don't just realize it's talking to people, like bring up Ambucks in some sort of conversation. If there's some other organization, like with your kids are on a soccer team and you're sitting out there with parents, just helping them know that they can talk about it. And I would say Tyler was a good example because like he said the exact same thing. Like, I just don't like to talk to people. But once he did, like he was a pro by the time, we did our nationals trips. And I think it's giving people the confidence on how to speak about it. And sometimes it's just getting them to your meeting so they hear you guys talking to other people, about it, or joining you when you're going and speaking. If you're going to go speak to the Lions Club, about Ambucks, bring some of those ones that are a little bit more intimidated so that they can actually hear you, when we might just think, oh, we're bothering them and I'm just going to speak about it real quick at the lunch. But being intentional on dragging some of those that are a little less confident in talking about Ambucks.
Yeah.
yeah. And the other way around, if they want to go talk to somebody and they don't feel comfortable, invite one of the other Ambucks to go with you, go to lunch or something and have them come. Because it's hard. Some of us on here can talk about Ambucks really easy, but if you're not comfortable speaking, it's hard. And then if you are a newer member yourself and don't know what to say, so but like Melissa says, talk about Ambucks all the time, just not
Yeah.
just this time. Pretty soon they'll start asking you, what is that Ambucks? What are you talking about? What are you doing? Or talk about how much fun you had. Another thing that our Big Hat Club has started doing, we have a new Big Hat president. It's awesome. We're having a get together every month and we wear our big hats and we're going to, they're bars, but they're bars where we can have food too. We have 4 or 5 of them around town that we're going to go to. And every month we're going to another one. And we went to one a couple of weeks ago and there were 8 of us that night and we're all wearing our cowboy hats. And, people are like, what's going on? And so they started asking. So it gave us an opportunity to talk about it. It opened up that, communication. And like, of course, we all told them about Ambucks and everything that we can do. So that's a different idea that we don't think about.
When I was new in my career and I was trying to get into fundraising, and probably lacked that confidence, I would I'm just going to go to the dentist in a different town, and I would wear a Bennett College t-shirt because that's who I worked for at the time. And if that didn't create conversation, I started to wear like a button that would say, ask me about Bennett. And so it made that person initiate the conversation of what I wanted to talk to them about. Because I didn't know how to bring it up.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was going to mention too, another easy way is if each chapter just, even if they did a spotlight on one of their favorite giveaways from the year, like, and put on the Facebook and just ask the members, hey, share that post and just say, ask me how to be an AMBUC. And you may not be having a giveaway or an event going on right now. So it's okay to just spotlight something that was exciting from the year before and give them the material to share on Facebook.
Melissa's done a really cool thing in the past too. She's done like oh, what you want to call it, but on Canva, she said, I'm an AMBUC because, and had pictures of different AMBUCs and had them kind of tell why they were an AMBUC and shared that on all the social media. And social media is a great place to share what we do. My Facebook blows up with Amtrikes and AMBUCs now, and you put it out there. And if you're having an event or something, put it on your community pages. Ponca City has like 10 different community pages because they all didn't like each other. And whenever we're doing a public something, an event or fundraiser or something, I go and post them on all of those. Maybe do something where invite people on social media. Come check out AMBUCs. If you can, try to give an Amtrak away at that time. Have somebody that got a scholarship and talk about what it meant to get a scholarship. Showcase what AMBUCs does to these people.
And if you don't have that content, go share what National AMBUCs is doing or share what the chapters are doing. I've never seen a chapter get offended that somebody kind of morphed what they were doing as long as it benefited the mission.
Yeah. And there's a lot of great, if you don't have an Amtrak to give away, there's chapters out there showing those all the time. Right now, they're all busy. There's some great videos out there to share.
Piney Woods hit the ground doing that. That Facebook is awesome. And it was sharing content that was just out there.
Yeah.
Because they were so new, they didn't have their own stories yet.
I was just fixing to say that. I think they have done an excellent job of doing that. And it creates excitement because then they can show other things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you're new and it's so hard to tell the story because you're just learning it yourself. I mean, that's a great way to do it.
Where is Pineywood?
It's about an hour south of Longview, so it's close to Nacogdoches, between Nacogdoches, and that's close to Lufkin and Houston.
Okay.
So
and the reason I wondered how close they were to another chapter, because that was another thing, is like with the student chapter, they don't have their own trikes right now, but we are able to borrow some from the Charity Angels. We were able to borrow some from Stillwater, or even Owasso. So they were able to get their potential members excited about AMBUCs, and it wasn't because they were already a chapter, or B, had the funds to raise their own. And they were able to be invited to the giveaway. So it's another way of, if there's trikes that you have 5 sitting around, that can help others start building up momentum before they're necessarily ready.
Yes, we got both our chapters having them, and then we're getting some trikes from even Tyler recommended a person out of Lufkin for them. And then they're close enough to Houston that if they've got some overflow, we may work on that too.
Good thoughts. This is just some ideas that I came up with. I go to seminars and classes all the time. And I kind of just jumbled these down here about inviting guests and recruiting ideas. Try to get your members to set a goal. I've seen where I think it was the Kiwanis I stole it from. They had all this literature and they had lists that they gave all their members and had them write down. And I know all of you guys at one time have been involved or seen this, where they ask you to think about the teachers at school, your minister's wife, where they're trying to brainstorm people to sell something to. Well, it's the same thing. Start coming up with a list of people that it doesn't have to be your best friend. Probably most of us have already recruited our best friend and then some, but come up with a list and write down who you're inviting to an event. Keep track of that, because if they can't come this time, maybe next time they can. Make sure you follow up with them. Sometimes you might even just give them a call and offer to pick them up, because if they're nervous about coming into a building where they don't know anybody, it might help them if like Melissa calls somebody and says, hey, I'll just pick you up and we'll go together. And then they got a friend to walk in with and they're more comfortable. So invite, ask, and invite, ask. Don't let your friends, first I'm going to tell you my story before I read this. I was asked by 3 people to join AMBUCS. I wasn't asked, I was invited and kept hearing, you should be an AMBUC. You'd be a great AMBUC. And I kept saying, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. And it was several years. And finally, the timing was right. Don't ask me why. Part of it was I was working for the chamber and they encouraged me to join organizations and would pay my dues and I could go to lunch without taking a lunch break. And so I'll admit that made it probably a little easier, but finally I went to a meeting and then I was asked to join and I was like, saw them give an Amtrak away at that meeting. And I was like, yep, this is it. So if they tell you no, don't write them off. Maybe it's just the timing is wrong. So, but keep inviting them. Don't let your guests leave without letting them know when the next social or presentation or event is. We always have a sign-up sheet so we can get their email and we'll put them in our Gmail and start sending stuff to them, even if they're not a member, so they know when the next meeting is and hope that they'll come. And make sure you close the deal. If you don't ask them to join, they're not going to volunteer. Some will, like the lady that showed up, but most of them, if you don't ask to join at the end of your presentation, if you just say, well, thanks for coming by, you know what they're going to do? They're going to walk out. So if someone turns down, like I said, don't forget to ask later. It might be better timing. So, and the other thing is communicate often, keep it fun, make sure that they know what's going on. I mentioned that we put them in the emails. We also put everything on Facebook. We used to do a text blast service. We've gotten away from that. I think people were having problems doing it, but keep them informed. I learned a long time ago, I went through some training when I worked for Girl Scouts, and they said some people need to be told about something in 3 different ways before they remember it. And so don't just send them an email and write it off and think that they saw it, because as Jessica knows, my emails, I lose emails all the time. We get so much spam and stuff in our emails. Same thing with text. Don't assume that they're going to see it on Facebook because, if you have even 100 people, if everybody posts the same day, you're not going to see everything. So try to communicate often with them, and then reward them for coming, even if it's just thanking them. Make sure that they know that they're wanted there and that you're really excited that they give there, that they came. So any questions, or anybody else have some other recruitment ideas or tips?
I have a question.
Okay.
Are there materials that you would like that you wish you had, recruiting materials or any sort of resource from the national office that I could create that could help with?
Well,
I was gonna,
sorry, Jessica.
sorry.
What?
I was just gonna say, I know Al Lemieux had asked for letters and potentially thank you cards that could go to guests, donors, different sorts of relationships. So what does that text look like for the person, or what does that graphic look like for the person who doesn't know how to finesse that? Does that make sense? So we know that we're in a society now that likes things that are visually appealing, video content, pictures. They say 1,000 words. But when you have to sit down and you have to write the thank you card or write the invitation, I know Al specifically has mentioned that would be helpful.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and I talked to Adam at Nationals. There's an old video around that talks about AMBUCS. It's more of like an orientation type thing, but I would love to see that redone and updated and maybe broken up to where there's a shorter video that could be out there on YouTube that chapters could show at an invitation night or an orientation that talks about AMBUCS, but not so lengthy that they're going to get bored. Maybe that's one that's made for recruitment specifically. This is what we do. Show pictures of kids getting bikes and parents smiling and crying, and maybe some scholarship applicants, recipients talking about what it meant to them, something for them to show at their recruitment events. And then another one that's more of the orientation that goes into the details about, Big Hat, because we could, in that recruitment one, we could talk about, we were founded by William White and the first meeting was in Birmingham. But when you're trying to recruit somebody, is that as important as the feel good type stuff? That's more like in an orientation later. So it's just my idea.
It's great. It's great.
I think we often, it's hard not to overwhelm people who don't know about AMBUCS with information. So when you talk about splitting it up, I think from a new chapter perspective, that's really strong too. But even when we're just trying to talk about potential members or donors, many times we just shorten it and we say like, oh, we give away adaptive tricycles. But there's so much more to it, right? And what is that elevator speech and how do you say it to where you're giving respect to what the organization actually is, but you're not confusing the person because it's information overload. I think that's the trick. And when you're a new person or someone who isn't as used to having to communicate that, it's hard. So even if there's an elevator spiel, that could be helpful too.
Yeah, that's true. That could be helpful. It's hard. It's intimidating though, when you're first new and even not new. Some people don't feel comfortable. Believe it or not, I'm basically an introvert until I'm in my comfort zone. That's why I can talk to you guys, because I'm in my comfort zone. But we always joke, if you guys know Wendy Bond, most of us do, but the new people won't. We tease her because it's a good thing. She has actually recruited people on an elevator. I was there. I witnessed it. She just starts talking to everybody and telling them her story. And she has a story because she has a sister that couldn't ride a bike because she's handicapped. And she always talks about the Sonia story. So if you see Wendy, you can ask her about that. That's her elevator story. She talks about how Sonia watched the kids playing and riding bicycles up and down the street, and Sonia couldn't ride a bike. And so Wendy wants all the Sonias in the world to ride a bike. So that's her shortened elevator speech, but it works.
Well, and you might tell people what her last name actually is.
Murhoff.
There you go. I've been trying it when I refer to her now, do Wendy Bond Murhoff, because otherwise
I told her it was going to be hard. So Kim says maybe a PowerPoint presentation for new members and or corporate sponsorships. Good idea.
Yep, I'm working on that right now, actually.
Yeah. I've got one. I've got something in the AMBUCS Dropbox you might be able to use too, Adam. That I just quick and dirty one day because I needed something. Yeah, I really like that idea.
I like the corporate sponsor one too, because, that's a different audience. They don't want to know about the fun and that we get together. They may care about community service, but they want to know what their dollars are going to go to and how stable this organization is. And it's a lot of other things that we probably don't think to tell them.
Well, and when you're in those circles, you might actually have the opportunity to show a PowerPoint presentation. We don't always have that opportunity, but especially when working with corporate sponsorships or donors, it's very likely that you could.
Yeah, and even if you can't, if it's, on the YouTube channel, isn't that how Kent saw about AMBUCS? He went and saw video on the YouTube and then got hooked on, and it's like, I'm going to help AMBUCS get these Amtrikes. So that would be something that people could you could tell the donors if you're meeting with them, and you could pull out your phone then and say, watch this video.
Hey, I was at a meeting and this fellow made a really neat comment about that. Again, if you're going after your corporate donors, that again, you remind them that they're a sponsorship, therefore they can write it off as advertising versus a donation where they may be limited on their tax return for that. But also the one point he made was that if, sometimes let's say you ask for $500 versus 1,000, you can tell them that 500 is going for half a trike. And he said what the donors then look at that is, oh, I bought half a trike versus, oh, I just gave you $500. Or if they give you 1,000, they bought a whole trike. And he said people look at that as, hey, they're buying into something versus just handing you money. And I thought that was a neat idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear me or not. Can you hear me, Donna?
Yes.
Oh, good. So, but when you say, okay, that $500, buy the half a trike, sometimes people will say, well, I want to buy a whole trike. Here's 1,000. So you've just
Exactly.
opened it for that way too. Mhm.
Yep. Are there any other resources that the office could help us with in regards to recruiting or? Anybody
think-
else want to? Sorry,
think-
Al, what?
No, I think part of the problem is we've had this COVID carryover and we're not doing recruitment like we were 3 years ago. So I think that's just what we got. We got to change our mindset.
Yeah, I think so too. And some of the chapters are, still kind of struggling to get up and going again too. I think most of us are, but
Well, we keep saying COVID, 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 but I really do think that COVID changed us as a society. And some things are probably for the better, right? Because we never did Zoom meetings or had the ability to come together in this live action sort of way before COVID. But I
mhm.
think, Al, that was a really strong point that COVID's kind of made us, we lulled for a little bit. But now it's almost making us have to revamp and do things a different way.
That's what I was gonna say. I agree with that too. I think it's like finding a way to remind our current membership why they are an AMBUC, what brought them to it, re-energize them again, towards like the common mission and what the purpose is. And once they start feeling the excitement again, I think it then becomes easier to recruit.
Yeah,
And it was-
I mean, you got to have the excitement or, why am I going to join your chapter if all you talk about is Ambucks does this? I mean, you got to be excited about it and show the excitement.
I was having my pedicure this afternoon, and a lady walked in that I knew from a long time ago. We'll say our children were in Little League together, and I know you really can't see me, but that child is like 39 years old now. But anyway, she was saying, well, you still, what are you doing in your life? And things are going well. She had a child with Downs who always played baseball with our teams. And so we started talking about AMBUCS, and guess what? She wants an application to join. And we were just sitting there getting our nails done. You never know where it
Awesome.
might happen. Yeah, I was pretty excited.
I think recruiting families, we're always a little apprehensive because we know how busy they are with therapy appointments, and it's just sometimes it's hard to get the kids ready and get them out of the house. But I think they get what we're trying to do. We don't have to sell them on the benefits of AMBUCS, and it helps provide a community. I think that's one of the things that I love most about this organization. We have the ability to offer support to people who don't have to explain themselves to any of us. We know the challenges that they're going through, and some of us can even empathize with the challenges that they're going through. They don't have to apologize for their child's special needs. You just come as you are and you bring your family as you are. And it really is a gift, I think, to belong to this organization and to benefit from this organization. But we have to pull from the people who not only have a draw to us, but I think those who could benefit from belonging to AMBUCS too.
Point well made. Point well made.
Yeah.
And again, I've had a few when their child got older, and yes, sometimes there was still work being done. They were still, needing to attend to that particular child a little longer than you and I might attend to ours. But then they come back and they're like, we're ready to help someone else now. You gave us so much. We want to help give back. And that's a whole pool of people that sometimes I think we forget about.
Is anyone working with corporate businesses and using this as a professional membership? I know back in the old days, you used to be able to get businesses to pay for their employees to belong to service clubs.
I know, I think it's really hard now. I know in Ponca, every bank and lawyer office and businesses all had somebody on an AMBUC chapter, and they paid their dues for them. And we can't get them to pay. And a lot of those people dropped after their membership dues weren't paid for anymore, which is sad. You'd think they would have bought into it. And a few of them have stuck around, but most of them quit. But businesses just are different now, and they don't see the value, which is sad.
Carmela, did they take that tax incentive away from us, or can we use it in a different way and say it's a different category to get it to write it off?
The problem on the contribution is you have to have enough to itemize if you're on an individual, but if you're doing it through your business, again, you can get limited depending on your net income. So that's where I always just call it sponsorship, advertisement, therefore there's no limitation.
Right. So if we write it off as advertising,
100%.
100%. So we need to promote that more.
We do. We really do, because, unfortunately, tax incentives are what drive a lot of money being spent. And if they know that they're getting a write-off for it, especially in some companies as they're doing well, and they know they're buying something. They're not just giving it to you and not knowing where it's going. But if they know they're buying in something plus the tax write-off, it's a lot easier to get them to buy into it.
Right.
That got my wheels turning a little bit. Thank you for the question, Al.
Adam, another thing that came up, Adam, was, and I don't know how you can do this, but another person we were talking about it. They said, wouldn't it be neat to do a thank you card where you had a trike, and let's say if you gave me $500, I'm gonna black out or white out part of the trike, like half the trike. So say, hey, thank you. You gave us enough money to buy half a trike, and it would picture that it's half a trike, like it would kind of be blacked out half of it. So, if you can do another 500, then you'll be given a whole trike or something like that. Even if they give you 250 and you gave a quarter of a trike. So it kind of gave you incentive. Oh, I want to see me get a thank you that says I gave a whole trike, not just half a trike.
I like that. And you mean like actual physical cards that we could give a chapter that, that's great.
I like that idea too. And maybe we could even do something fun, like over a year, fill up your trike.
Good idea. Yeah.
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 Well,
Yeah.
we started adding for our chapter, we haven't really got many sponsorships other than our Fund It, Build It, Give It, where they raise money and we build with them, which I think is still a good way of looking at it. But if they've donated $250 or more, then we're going ahead and signing them up as a Friends member so that they can get a quarterly magazine, and hoping to see if that inspires them to give a little bit more regularly.
Love
That's a
that.
great, yeah, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. They get our magazine and they might see the name of the chapter, or then maybe their name if they made a donation.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Mhm.
You know, most of our magazines go to members. The vast majority go to members. I almost wonder if the new member page could say something like, if you haven't already joined AMBUCS, your name could be here. There's got to be a way that that magazine can be more than just member information. Could it be a way that Owasso turns friends into members? Or
We
any
used
of us?
to years ago have the girls bring their extras, because there's a lot of people like, Dave and I are each members. We get 2 magazines. We would ask them, if you don't want your magazines, bring them in, and we'd rip off their name part like that and put contact information on it and leave it in different doctors' offices where they're sitting around the waiting rooms with something to look at. We haven't done that in years, but that might be an idea, at least to spread. It's a good visibility idea too, but maybe somebody sitting in the doctor's office, looking at seeing what we do, might be interested. So if you have your chapter information contact on there, they might. It's better than throwing them away, that's for sure.
And it might be even, and I don't know how much like each page costs to producing the magazine, but if there was a page at the end that said, our sponsorship's over $500, then basically their name gets listed. If there's a way to compile, like each chapter would have to submit what the name was, but let's just say that ended up being one extra page in the magazine each time. Like, how much extra cost would that incur if it just listed either at 500 or $1,000? Like, put increments that are a little bit larger. But
Yeah, and the magazine cost is weird. Sometimes, I think it was with the last magazine, Adam came to me and was like, if it's 4 pages shorter, it's going to cost more. So
Ah,
he
oh,
added
really?
4 pages. Yeah, it really just kind of depends. But yeah, chapters have the ability to do like a chapter shout out. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sponsor shout out.
They just got to send it in. We have a hard
Mhm.
enough time getting them to send information in. So, but I don't know. Anybody else have any other ideas, questions, anything else we can talk about? We're almost at an hour. Glenna, did you get any information that might help you?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
And I
good.
got a lot of information. I'm kind of helping Trisha. I'm kind of her support. I told her I've been in networking a lot, and so a nonprofit networking group. So I kind of know a little bit of what to do. And so I volunteered to help her because she can't do it by herself. There's no way you can do it by yourself.
No, that's great. No, it takes a lot of people. I mean, in the beginning, these, chapters, you basically have a few people that, getting things started. But the more that you do, the more people you need to do. And the more people you get involved, they'll stick with it because they'll have a purpose.
Yeah.
So that's great.
And I'm new to the area, so I don't have any friends. All my friends are in the Houston area.
That's tough.
You
But
know,
now you'll make friends with AMBUCS.
Yeah, that was
So
that was one of the reasons I joined. Plus, it gave me something to do, retirement, it's just
yeah.
just
So
lot
you need
for me to do,
an
so.
AMBUCS shirt or a button that says "Ask me about AMBUCS." So
Yes, I do.
Mhm.
I was going to bring that up earlier. I always, you see, I got my AMBUCS shirt on now. West Side. There you go. Well, I was gonna have Melissa show hers, but it's kind of subtle. She makes really good shirts, and I think she lives in Ambuk shirts because she's always wearing an Ambuk t-shirt. And
And Glenna, I will send you a shirt if you can get Donna your address. I will be happy to send you a shirt since you were one that was new and came on here.
yeah,
Okay,
and your size. Let me know what your size is too.
okay,
So,
okay. How do I get to my address and everything?
you can.
can-
Is Carmela talking? Oh, she's just talking.
Was.
You're muted.
Yeah, my
If
email
you
is.
find me. Oh, I was gonna say if you find me on Facebook, you can send it to me as well. Melissa Lay.
Okay,
Or I can get it from you Sunday as well. But Trisha makes shirts too, so I'm gonna bet she's gonna make some too.
yeah, and I have the ability to make them too. So,
There you go.
Speaking of shirts, my children who showed up at conference at the last minute, unannounced, were all wearing Vote Donna t-shirts. And they ran around the entire city of Louisville, spreading the word about Ambucks, going bar to bar, but hey, it all worked. They are still wearing their shirts and talking to people. Ask about it every time. A t-shirt is such a great billboard. So just put that shirt on and go out and run around because people will ask you about what you're wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so even if it's like past now, obviously I was voted in, that's wonderful. They're still wearing their shirts and still talking about Ambuck. So I'm like, go for it, kids. You might get some members. So makes a difference.
Yeah, it does.
Mhm.
Kimberly, did you get any ideas or have any questions?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. No, I think these are all good ideas. And our chapter, I don't think is as membership driven. But I think being out at events and being able to promote that there is an opportunity to be a member or maybe starting member meetings is a good idea. Because I know that a lot of times people want to volunteer and maybe they can also become a member and volunteer together.
Kimberly, I'm sorry for this. We talked about Friends members earlier. Are you familiar with what a friend is?
No.
Okay, so you guys might actually really benefit from this. So a friend member is the same cost at the national level as a regular member, but you don't get access necessarily to all of the perks. Plus, we don't bill quarterly, we bill $25 at the time that the person is added. Some of our
Okay.
chapters are using the friend membership level if they've got a member who's just not ready to buy in. They don't want to be a full member yet. A lot of our chapters are using it for donors. So if you've got a corporate donor, a relationship that you guys are trying to cultivate, you could add them as a friend for $25 and they're going to get the quarterly Ambucks magazine.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That is a good idea. And, and Kimberly, even if, I know you guys aren't really membership driven, but at least if you do that, they'll get the information, you can get help. Maybe some of those new people that you're kind of recruiting to be Friends members might have some financial sources to help fund some Amtrikes or manual labor or know people that need Amtrikes. So,
I agree.
yeah. How about Annika and Adrian? Are you out there? You got any new ideas or questions?
Are they on, Donna? I thought maybe you had joined.
I see them on, and they told me
Okay.
they'd be listening. Oh, they're
I was
coming
like,
on.
Melissa, that is our taco night gals, like at Great Plains conference. Like we all are like getting our chips one at a time.
They're unmuted now. They're gonna talk. Oh,
Oh,
come on,
they popped back
Annika.
in.
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
there they, you're there.
No worries. We're here. We're packing. So we're listening from afar. So if you've said our names a couple times, I apologize. I just walked through and I said, I think I heard my name. So
We were asking if you got any new ideas or had any questions or concerns.
I don't have any questions or concerns. I appreciate some of the ideas that have been thrown out. I don't necessarily have any new ones to add. We're just doing dinner parties at our house with our friends and talking about it there. It's kind of, food and good discussion, really.
Well, that's a good idea. That's kind of a event idea, come on over invite people over for dinner and talk about AMBooks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm starting to hear from more people in my age bracket or young families where they're like, it's just hard to make friends. Young families, new moms, they're like, I don't have any friends. One of my friends actually said it. She's like, I'm 40, I'm a new mom, I don't have friends. And I'm like, I'm your friend. What are you talking about? But I think that there is a real population of people where they just don't feel like they have that. And even that in itself, AMBooks could be,
Mhm.
could be a gift to them. It's a network of friendships.
It's old,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's old people too, Jessica, because we don't have,
have friends?
school stuff. We don't have a way to make new friends. No, I have a handful, but small handful. But
Yeah, it's like-
we don't have a way to meet people. So it's the same thing with the moms with the little kids. They're busy. They're not out there with school functions. So it's the same kind of thing. You got to go get a pedicure, I guess, and talk to the nail salon person.
Adam, do you have
Oh,
friends?
yeah.
Wrong answer. I'm your friend.
My friends are all AMBooks. All my friends are AMBooks.
Well, I
And
think
this
that
might be a silly question, but is for the friends, is that the same form to fill out or is there a different one?
No, not a silly question. That is a different form. We have an electronic one where you can go ahead and pay the $25. But we
Okay.
also have a paper form if you wanted to do it that way. I'll send you a link.
It's in the resources and
Is
it's
it-
in the forms, isn't it?
Yeah, under
think-
resources.
I think so. Yeah, and your chapter does get points. I think it's 2 points for a Friends member. So if that interests you, you do get some activity points for that towards awards. It's not as much as a full member, but it is something.
Okay. Yeah, I think people seeing the magazine is very impactful and understanding what everybody does.
For sure.
Yeah, it is.
a picture speaks 1,000 words.
Yes.
And
Well,
you can
and
carry that.
especially, oh, sorry. I was gonna say, especially for those who haven't heard of what AMBooks is or realize it's not like Lines or people know that's a national, or it's weird because people don't know, but I think the magazine helps show how many different areas that AMBooks actually is. So it helps solidify it as like a real organization.
Mm-hmm. Jessica just shared that link in the chat. So if you click in there, you can.
The first one that I did is the brochure, just because I think it kind of gives you the nuts and bolts of what it means. And then this next one I'm going to share is the electronic form.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's good stuff. So, all right. Well, there's nothing else. I'd love to stay on here all night long, but we try to keep it at about an hour. I will ask any of you guys have it's not a lot of people on here, but if any of you guys have any future topics you would like us to chat about in the future, speak up or send them to Jessica or I. All right. Well, good night. Thank you for attending. We will get the next one scheduled, and maybe we need to go back to Monday night. We moved it because we had some chapters saying they can never attend because it's always on Monday night. And then there was a meeting that I needed to go to last night. So we tried Tuesday, and I don't know if it just didn't get the word out.
Hey, I was
Or-
on last night just to see if anybody was there.
So Carmela sent an email out, said maybe people are just thinking it's Monday because it's always been on Monday. So hey, we better go back to Monday. And, the people that were concerned because they could never come on Monday, we gave them an opportunity. So, of course, that may be Kimberly and Annika and Glenna. I don't know.
Mm.
Well, thank you, everybody. You guys
Good night,
have a great
everyone.
night. Have a good night. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you.
All right. Bye.